Hello, I'm Marina Frolova-Walker. I'm a music lecturer, and with me I have Petra Hajduchova, who is a harpsichord player, and we have this wonderful, beautiful instrument with us to illustrate, to tell you about the musical form of a fugue. Fugue, very strange word, doesn't sound English, does it? It's in fact a French borrowing, and it has a Latin root, which you will recognize from various English words that you know very well, such as fugitive, or refuge, or centrifugal. And all of them have this meaning of fleeing or escaping or running away. And if someone is running away, that means someone else is chasing them. So there's quite a lot of voices, parts, instruments, chasing each other in the musical form of a fugue. So today we're going to play for us the Fugue by J.S. Bach. He was a great master of the fugue. He really literally wrote hundreds of them in various genres, including 48 for the keyboard, 2 volumes which are called the Well-Tempered Clavier. So we're going to play to you today and explain to you today the C major fugue from Book 2. So how do you know that it's a fugue? It's very easy, because it always starts with a single voice. It doesn't have to be a human voice. It could be an instrument, or it could be a group of instruments. It could be just a part of a musical score. But you will recognize, because it's very exposed, it's just a single voice. And that is the fugue subject, or the fugue theme. So I will ask Petra now to play to us the fugue subject of this fugue. Thank you very much. So you might have noticed it had 2 phrases. The first phrase was very memorable. It had big intervals. And then the second one was kind of running around in smaller note values. And that's a very typical structure of a Bach fugue theme. It has these 2 elements. So now that you've heard the subject, the second voice is going to come in. And it's going to come in with an answer, answering the subject. And that's going to be very similar, but a little bit different. And now, Petra, could I have that answer, please? So while the second voice is playing the answer, the first voice doesn't stop. It does something else, and we usually call it the counter subject. And the way these 2 voices are connected to each other present to you the art of counterpoint. You put a note against note, point against point. This is what we mean when we talk about the fugue being a contrapuntal form. So the 2 voices are independent, and they have to sound together harmoniously. In J.S. Bach's time, there were very strict rules about how you can write one voice against each other. So it would become a little bit like a mathematical puzzle or a Sudoku puzzle. The more voices you have, the more difficult it would be to achieve this harmony. But if you're someone like Shostakovich, you could be a bit freer with the rules. So it's probably not quite as difficult to create a fugue in the 20th century or in the 21st century. So now we have 2 voices running together, and the third one is going to come in, and it's going to be the bass. So could we hear the bass? So he heard that this was actually exactly as it was the first time, only an octave lower. So you have a very different timbre here. So you have 3 voices in this fugue. There will be no more. And once the subject has run through all 3, basically you have the exposition finished. That's the first section of the fugue. You've exposed the theme in all the voices. You've shown it. And what can we do after that? After that, we can do something interesting with the theme. We can cut it short, and we can put it in between 2 voices like a football. It would be sort of passed round. Without playing the whole thing, you will just have that very first element passed around. We could hear that. So you could hear, that there were just 2 voices playing that. There's a third voice at that time doing something else. So it's always quite complicated. So once we're done with the first section, we're going on a journey, and that means we usually will have a subject in a different key, yeah, or maybe even in a different mode. At some point in this fugue, it will go into the minor key, and you will hear that the color of it will change. Yeah? It will become slightly more shadowy or sad, possibly. Yeah? Thank you very much. So that's what is going to happen in this development section. Yeah, so you're going to have different keys. You're on a journey. And the third part of the fugue, which is called the recapitulation, which means, yeah, you're coming back again to the home key, and you will get this sense that the piece is about to end. And in that last part of the fugue, you would usually have something special. Yeah, it might be more voices, it could be voices very close together, which is called a stretto. Yeah, there could be some sense that, you know, you haven't traveled this journey in vain. Yeah, there's some kind of new quality. And in this particular fugue, it's a particularly celebratory part, I think, you know, very, very uplifting and very affirmative. So let's talk about, just briefly, what it means for a composer to write a fugue, what it means for a performer to play a fugue, and what it means for the listener to listen to a fugue. Yeah, so the composers, because it's such a complicated art where you sometimes have to work out how these voices are going to stick together even before you start writing a fugue, yeah, it's something that you would show off with. Yeah, so very often composers would show off, you know, writing these fugues as complicated as possible. You know, it could be 4 voices, could be 5 voices, could be more than one theme. This can happen even in the middle of a big piece, like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Suddenly, like, everything stops. You hear this fugue which combines 2 themes together. Yeah, so it is really kind of an important art to master for a composer. And now when we do you can use somebody else's theme. You can give, we can give students, for example, a theme to write a fugue, and they will have 3 or 4 hours. Yeah, and they will write all these different fugues. All these pieces will be different, but they will have the same subject. So what about the performer? Yeah, Petra only has 2 hands, as we all do, but she has to have a 3-part fugues. Yeah, and sometimes even 4, and sometimes even 5. So that creates a lot of difficulty, yeah, because you have to have control over all these voices. With your brain, you basically have to separate them and hear every individual line separately, and that requires quite a lot of practice. Yeah, and I think another thing is very difficult to memorize. Yeah, so if you want to play it from memory, if you stop accidentally, it's very hard to restart. Yeah, because it's such an intricate musical texture. Now, what about the listeners? Well, as a listener, it would be great if you could pick out these different entries of the subject in different voices. That would be amazing. Of course, it's very difficult to know throughout the fugue where you are, you know, what is happening. It requires quite a lot of listening practice. But if you can pick out these entries, which I'm sure you will be able to do, that is amazing. And if also you have a sense of when the piece is going to end, where we're coming to the home key, that's also great. Yeah, so let us now, but even if you can't do that, you can still enjoy the character of the fugue, yeah, because it's a very lively one. They can be in different characters, but this one is a particular uplifting and lively one. So let's get this burst of energy from the C major fugue from volume 2 of Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier. And Petra, it's all yours.